next speaker is Professor Ramesh Goel. He will speak on the topic environmental process engineering and environmental microbiology department of University of Utah. His topic of his speech is simplicity to modernity, ecosystems, human health and human well-being. I just want to give a brief introduction of Professor Ramesh Goel, who is a researcher at the interface of environmental process engineering and environmental biology. He has published more than 60 papers in journals of the status of nature, communication, environmental science and technology, water research, and scientific reports. He is the recipient of prestigious Presidential Award for Research in 2011 and recipient of numerous awards at the department, university, and national levels. I also want to inform that this conference was envisioned and being organized by his efforts also. So over to you, Professor Goel. You have 25 minutes to speak.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joshi. This conference is an effort by all of us collectively. So the title of my talk is Simplicity to Modernity. So the key issues facing the globe, all we need is energy on material ground, water and food, what we call FEWS, F-E-W, FEWS, food, energy, water, integration. And what are the challenges facing these three important needs? We have water scarcity, water contamination, droughts, overuse, water rights, international disputes. And I will make the case that water scarcity is not actually naturally generated, but it is generated by us, man-made. Food, soil health, as Goranga Prabhu mentioned, food security is a must. And even if there's a lot of urbanization, still we have lots of land to produce food. But still, why do we face food security, food scarcity? And these are some of the reasons where soil health is degraded, soil erosion, salt water intrusions, excess salinity, that means using water reuse. If it is not treated and we use it, different salts, different chemicals, they accumulate in soil and then they degrade soil health, resulting in low food production and energy lack of renewable sources, diminishing non-renewable sources, and then emissions also. So let us look at the water scenario. So on Mother Earth, we'll see a lot of water. It's almost 75 to 80% of Earth's surface is covered with water. So why do we have to worry about water? It's a lot of water, but unfortunately, 97% of the water is brackish or saline water. That means we cannot use that water directly. It's in the form of oceans. Then of that 3% fresh water, just 30% is groundwater, almost nearly, let us say 1%, right? So total out of 100%, total 1% is groundwater and other 2% is ice cap and glacier, which is fresh water, but that is not available to us directly. Of that surface water, groundwater, only 0.3% is surface water. So if you look at, so all those big rivers, we see Great Lakes, and then big lakes and rivers and Nile River, everything, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, they all together constitute only 0.3%. And other water is not available to us. So basically for direct use, all we have is 0.3% in surface water, then other is groundwater. And unfortunately, of that 0.3% surface water, more than half of that 0.3% is contaminated currently. It's contaminated because of rapid industrialization. It's contamination because of our own ignorance over time. So water consumption, water contamination, and affluent lifestyle. why it has happened, why we contaminate. So on left hand side of a screen, you see water withdrawal and agricultural withdrawal along with population. Population has increased, especially beyond 1950, 1960s. And then there's agriculture water withdrawal also increased, which makes sense. And then water withdrawals per capita. This is per capita. This is not agriculture water on your right hand side of the screen, top right hand side. And you see most affluent countries, or what we call most developed countries like United States, Canada, and Europe, they tend to consume way more water than many other countries. So there is a geographical imbalance. Then if you look at other regions of contamination, whether it's water or air contamination, because look at this number, population, India, China has almost, 4 times as much the population as the United States. But look at the number of vehicles per thousand people, way more than these two countries. So what is happening is not only air contamination, but then for each vehicle we fabricate, we make, they have greater water, what we call indirect water footprint. So there's a lot of consumption of water in this advanced country. And on your right hand side bottom, you see cubic meters of water per person. And then you see this is per year. And you see almost population is 3 to 4 times as much as the United States, but US consumes almost double than China, and then 3 times as much as many developing countries. And this is the scenario with many developing countries. So affluent lifestyle, that means moving from simplicity to modernity. Affluent lifestyle means modern. We want to become modern, and then we end up consuming resources, and we end up consuming way more water. So because of this, you see a lot of red area in this map, and then other yellow and light yellow. So what it has done is it has caused geographical imbalance of resources, misuse of resources, and less appreciation of Mother Earth. What damage have we done so far? So not only different advanced country or developed countries, they consume more resources, but then contamination, the origin of contamination started, misuse started from many of these countries, and it is prevalent in developing and underdeveloped countries also. And this is a very specific example. And with time, these, it's not like these contaminants were not there 50 years back. They were there, but with modern technologies and instrumentation, now we are able to detect these contaminations in water. For example, who thought about the presence of pharmaceuticals in our drinking water or water, right? Nobody. But then with advanced instrumentation, people detected this concentration of either ibuprofen or triclosan, depressant, or antibiotics in our waterways. And then came estrogens, and then came many other what we call contaminants of emerging concern. And then now it is PFAS, perfluorinated compounds. And what does PFAS? The non-stick utensils we use in our household, those are coated with PFAS. That's why they are fire resistant. And then people use this PFAS compound, perfluorinated compounds, in as fire extinguisher also to combat the fire. Now we are dealing with new contaminants like microplastics or nanoplastics, and this data is alarming. Almost 94% of tap water was, in the United States was they found plastic, and likewise many other countries also. So and then contamination and our carelessness also. So human health related consequences and waterborne diseases are very common in developing and underdeveloped countries. And we see viruses and we see bacteria because of inadequate treatment, or because of cross contamination, because of poor planning. We had drinking water pipes running very close to sewer pipe, and then there's cross contamination. So even if there's good treatment, but then water gets contaminated. And then you see unsafe water kills more people than disasters and conflict. You see, this is alarming data. Unsafe water, almost 780,000 people per year. And then the greatest threat to the globe is this prevalence and emergence of antibiotic resistance bacteria in the environment. For example, a few years back, this superbug was detected in Delhi water, and the bug is now known as New Delhi beta-lactamase NDM1 containing gene. So these are alarming. So superbug means many antibiotics, they cannot kill this bacteria. So we have to synthesize new antibiotics, and synthesis of new antibiotics means new threat to the environment and more consumption of resources. Generally, the paradigm or the existing thought among even the academicians like myself is that human population is increase in human population is causing a lot of water scarcity and resource scarcity. Yes, human population, increase in human population always needs more resources, more water. But I tend to disagree that the immediate scarcity and food scarcity is caused by this rapid population growth. Yes, they do put some stress, but look at the agriculture production with population increase exponentially almost beyond 1950, 1960. So is agriculture production. It's the agriculture production also increased. So why do we have food scarcity? But what we don't think is water pollution. How about water pollution? Exponential increase. You see all these different regions in the world. Uh, Less contamination is in the United States because of awareness from 1950s, 1960s, when late 1960s when Clean Water Act was established, and many efforts were put in place. But look at rest of the rest of the world. There's a lot of areas where water is contaminated. As I stated initially, of that 0.3% surface water, more than half of that is contaminated. But now you just imagine if all of that water, that more than half is contaminated, if all of that water was available for us to be used, we wouldn't be having water drought or water scarcities. So, and who are responsible for the water contamination? Is our human society is responsible for water contamination. So likewise for food scarcity also, we have abundant land, and because people are farmers, and even as Dr. Rajinder Singh mentioned yesterday, and I will show one slide later on, where people are moving from rural areas to urban areas, more and more people, and there are less and less people, they want to do farming, there are less and less people doing agriculture production, one reason. And second reason is because of rapid our greediness, same land is used repeatedly for multiple crops, and what is happening is overuse of soil, leading to soil degradation, and then overuse of fertilizers affecting ecosystem. So both together, water scarcity and food scarcity, if you look at a micro level very closely, what is happening is because we are causing water contamination, because we are leading affluent lifestyle also, which means instead of one bucket of water, we end up using 10 buckets of water because of the affluent lifestyles in some nations. We are the ones responsible for water scarcity and food scarcities. Moving from simplicity to modernity, and this is what we have done over time. Again, I'm not saying that we should go and live in a hut. It is not possible for us, but at least we can appreciate the simple lifestyle and then natural resources around us. But what we have done is we have moved from simple lifestyle to modern lifestyle, which is directly related to exploitation of natural resources, contamination of air and water, and then whatnot, and then interference with biodiversity and ecosystem. So, as I stated earlier, more and more people choosing affluent lifestyle, And what is that? That means more and more people. The dogma is that, in rural areas, people can't have affluent lifestyle, because the definition of affluent lifestyle is not to live healthy and have good food and good air. The definition of affluent lifestyle is totally different. So this is what is happening. And then beyond 2010, there's just both lines, they just crossed each other. You see this green line, people in rural areas, less and less people will be living in rural areas, more and more people living in cities, resulting in misuse of resources, and then causing many environmental degradation problems. So modernism versus indirect water footprint. So what is happening? Modernism, on your left hand side screen, you see different categories of water, different categories where water is used, for bathing purposes, dishwasher, leaks, and all that stuff, toilets, big portion. So if we conserve ourselves, if we put at individual, what we can do at individual level, if we do little bit of efforts at individual level, we can still save 30 to 35% of fresh water on daily basis. Some facts. So these are our direct freshwater uses. In the kitchen, taking bath, flushing the toilets. These are direct freshwater uses. But there are indirect freshwater uses we don't realize. For example, it takes 25 full bathtubs of water to grow one t-shirt, one cotton t-shirt. It takes 20 to 66 gallons of water to make one pint of beer. A man who drinks a few beers once in a while and likes dairy product consumes 100 times his own weight in water uh, every day. Vegetarian people, they just consume half of that. So significant gain in water when we are vegetarians, not only from ecosystem and our health point of view. That is entirely a different topic. We can spend days discussing that. But in terms of water conservation, also water sustainability, vegetarianism promotes water conservation and resource protection. And then some more facts. It takes 200 gallons to produce 1 pound of sugar, 330 gallons to produce 1 pound of rice, and 1300 gallons to produce 1 pound of meat. So vegetarian and non-vegetarians, and how can we protect our water resources? So in summary, affluent lifestyle and unconventional food habits have led to different scarcities. Why this happened, as I stated earlier, not only we have moved from simple lifestyle to affluent lifestyle, but we have also moved from natural resources to these synthetic resources. And when I say natural resources, it doesn't mean that we exploit natural resources. Living in harmony with natural resources is what we have been doing according to Vedic culture. But unfortunately, because of rapid industrialization, and why industrialization happened, because we were aspiring to be industrialized, we were aspiring to have modern products, and that's why we moved from simplicity to complexity, and then exploitation of natural resources, loss of sacred values, emotion, ethical meaning, and these are some of the consequences of our affluent lifestyles, which has caused a degradation of the environment and ecosystem around us. Lifestyle affect environment. Lifestyle simply refers to defining characteristics. In fact, the concept of lifestyle actually applies only to variants of consumerism. So when we say lifestyle, it comes, consumerism, as Dr. Ravi Gupta mentioned this morning, this early evening in his talk, consumerism, a largely unrealistic way of life that assumes. So when we talk about affluent lifestyle and then consumerism, it has three main features. Number one, what we tend to think is that what one wants is entirely a matter of choice. So that means it is so selfish. It's so selfish. I don't care about the environment. I want what I want. this is what going to fulfill my desire. So that is just one centered approach, which is promoted by affluent lifestyle. Number two is that almost all choices are within one's grasp. So I can avail anything I want as long as I have money. I can do whatever I want to do. So that attitude has also degraded. I think that is one of the main problems in affluent lifestyle. It's degraded the environment and misuse of different resources. And the third one is that consumer choices can and should be hierarchically ranked from the most to the least desirable. So again, this is choice based. People can take choice. Let me choose whatever I want to do, not according to what the environment needs or what the ecosystem needs, but what I need. So this is all together about me, myself, and I. Western concept of citizens of affluent nations. So the Western culture is based on affluent lifestyle and availing different resources according to their own choices, the three points I stated. And then underlying high-end consumerism. So Western culture is based on consumerism. And then this is not just limited to Western concept anymore. It's prevalent in other nations also. And is Western consumerism, the belief is that the most desirable lifestyle is dependent on having the most prestigious occupations, which are in turn associated with highest income. So you see, we call some countries as capitalist country, and the reason is just with money we can buy anything, and for money we need to earn, and to earn we have to have a good job, high paid job. So that is the attitude in developing developed countries, and the same attitude is now being transferred to countries like India, and supports the concept of resource exploitation according to one's choice. As I stated in my second point, just people just think this is my choice, this is my life, I am free to lead my life. But people, they in general with affluent lifestyle or those who are not God conscious, they tend to forget that it is not our life. Actually, we are part and parcel of the supreme personality of Godhead, and this is His creation, and we don't have any right to exploit His creation. He has provided us free will because we need to survive in this world, but that doesn't mean that we have a choice to exploit this environment. Increased consumerism, as I stated, affluent lifestyle means increased consumerism. I buy this, I need this. If you go to a shopping mall, you will see 15 different varieties of toothpaste. And if you look at the content, all those 15 toothpaste, they have nearly same constituents, 99.9%. So why do we have different? So there's competition. They want to provide choice and options to consumers. And what does that mean is that choice and options, they come at the expense of degradation and exploitation of the environment. So a growing number of studies also show that there is no correlation. Indeed, there may be a negative correlation between growing incomes and subjective measures of happiness. So why people want to live affluent lifestyle? The thing is they want to be happy. Well, if I lead affluent lifestyle, if I have more money, then I will be happy. But that is not the case. There are many studies out there which shows that no, money or incomes, they can't buy happiness. So you see all these problems in developed countries. I mean, when I was a child back, I never heard of things like depression and anxiety, but now they are prevalent in our society, not only in developed countries, but even in developing or underdeveloped countries also. So the
Sorry to
consumerism,
interrupt you, Professor Goel. 5 minutes more, please.
the promotion of consumerism, however, is portrayed in the media, leads to increasing pollution, resources, and then negative contributes to loss of health and among the poor in every country, because this create an imbalance in resources. Also, some countries some regions they're using a lot more resources than other, so there is imbalance of resources. So a negative, as I stated, what happens, in this data is from the United States, and you see this increasing trend about annual death from alcohol and drugs and suicide rates, and these are depression in the age, like you see 16 to 20, it's rising over time, and then you see divorce rate, and then total suicide. So if in a developed society people are happy with affluent lifestyle, why do we see this increasing trend? This is something for us to think about. So negative health effects, I wanted to give a couple of examples, but I will skip these slides. But these are classical examples from 1980s when in US, there's a town called Woburn, 8 miles north of Boston. Few industries, they contaminated groundwater, and because of groundwater contamination, people were unknowingly drinking that water, and many people in that small town were, unfortunately, some were died, and then some people were suffering from leukemia. And then this movie, A Civil Action, is all about that fight between residents and those company, and eventually the residents, they won. And likewise, Erin Bronkovich is another movie where hexavalent chromium was contaminated in groundwater, and then this lawyer fought on behalf of local residents and people, and then eventually was proven. The question is, why do we have to go through such an extensive exercise to prove that these big industries, they are the problem? And of course, surface water contamination, antibiotic resistance being, these are direct negative impact of our aspiration to be affluent, our aspirations to be advanced in lifestyle, and our aspirations to earn more. So complex lifestyles, what are our options? Resource protection, minimization. Try to find inner happiness, in not the superficial outer happiness in sense objects, but try to find out in inner happiness. If we are satisfied from inside, we don't look happiness around us in material things. And then, of course, that will lead to simple lifestyle. So those are interconnected. When we lead a simple lifestyle, we tend to appreciate the nature, the ecosystem, the Mother Earth around us. And then, of course, be spiritual. So impact, for example, COVID, unfortunate incident, and still we are going through that. And I pray that we all come out of this nicely. But one lesson we can learn out of COVID is, carbon emissions, the low carbon emissions, because of, during the COVID era, there's less waste production, wildland habitats are happy, and there's less energy production. So recent data released by NASA in the US indicates that pollution in some of the epidemics of COVID, such as Wuhan, Italy, Spain, has reduced up to 30%. And in these cities or these countries, to reduce some level of contamination by 30%, it takes years actually, and a lot of millions and billions of dollars. But just because of, why is this happen? This happened because people are inside, they're not eating outside, less transportation, all that stuff. And these are scientific evidence. These are not speculation. These are scientific evidence. And then during the last few months, consequences of COVID pandemic has successfully recovered the environment to large extent. And these are also findings. And then air pollution problems have decreased. Social science shows a greater bonding among family members. So these are some of the data. So what we see is we can do it. So what do we learn from COVID-19 era? We are pampered. Pampered means the resources, and we tend to use it. We tend to choose affluent lifestyle. If we want, we could do it. So if we have desire, we can protect the environment at individual level also. We have to make in mind, okay, I'm at individual level, I am to do something. And we are the solution. The solution is not in technology. Technologies, they are secondary solution, the consequence. And then thing is, why do we need COVID-19 type of episodes to positively affect the environment and our well-being? We can do it, and that's a determination we should have. Simple living, just simple slide. In scriptures, it is stated that once devotional service means, spirituality or simple life is affected when we are eating more than necessary, over endeavoring, that means we accumulate wealth, accumulate resources unnecessarily, talking more than necessary, and being greedy for mundane achievements. This is straight from scriptures, and these scriptures are um, coming from directly from personality of Godhead, and they were written almost 5,000 years back in words, right? And they came long back from the beginning of the universe. So, so these are there, and we should follow these scriptures. And we have to ask ourselves, okay, what is the purpose of my living? Why I'm here? I'm here, and I want to be happy. But again, the happiness is not in material things, but the happiness is in the science of self-realization. And once we are simple, there are different degrees of self-realization, but at least you can start at the individual level that, okay, I am going to contribute something to the environment. And then conditional happiness, we have to give up this greediness and then desire of this material happiness. Some of the examples, people still practice, as Gauranga Prabhu stated in his excellent presentation. We see all this going on in Govardhan Eco Village. There are other places I will show. And then people in some villages, they still practice, but these are slowly depleting. For example, in my home village, I mean, where I was born, there were 6 ponds or talab or jodas where they were divided. In one talab, on animals will go and drink water, some talabs for water capturing, and then, but now they all depleted, no more. In last 25 years, this is what happened, and this is happening with many villages. Can we do resource protection? Can we go back to our basics and then protect the environment? As Radhika Manpro, Dr. Ravi Gupta stated, our appreciating the nature is embedded in our scriptures, like doing puja for the Shivji, which is, in material word, we can call it a stone, but we pray as Lord Shiva, and then Govardhan, and then different trees. We appreciate, we respect them as living beings. Actually, they are living beings, they have soul. This is how we pray them, this is how we worship them. So these are embedded, and if we go back to our basics, our root, then we will start appreciating Mother Nature more and more. Another example is Krishna Valley. Much like Govardhan Eco Village, Krishna Valley, you see cow, and they're exactly doing at larger scale, their sustainable community. One stark example is they don't use electricity in their house after 7 p.m. House, they don't have, they use those lanterns, and then early going to bed, early rising, and you see the bull cart using, and this is happening in Hungary actually. No, I'm not talking about India. It's Hungary. It's one of the developed countries. So these are possible solutions. I'll stop here. Thank you so much for your attention, and then I can take questions.
Thank you, Dr. Goel, for giving an excellent talk on the current scenario. You have actually covered food energy nexus, water scenario, water consumption, contamination, damages that we have done to the environment, why human and its consequences on human related issues, simplicity to modernity and its impact, negative social and health impact and consequences of COVID-19. So thank you, and we are now open to the questions. Please write your questions in the chat box. Though we have left only for 2 minutes for the questions.
Well, it seems the message is very crystal clear by Dr. Ramesh Goel.
Yes.
That's why no questions we are expecting.
I mean, yes.
So I think we can move on, Chairman.
So, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.